Show me the money.
All right, show me the money. NFL picks for week number 11 are here. Join me today, another Dallas Cowboys fan who's no doubt disappointed by how his year has gone. Troy Mauriello is back. Troy, how are you?
I'm hanging in there, Mike. I could be having a better football season, but besides that, if that's my biggest concern, then I'm doing pretty okay.
Well, your football season is better than mine.
That's true. Only by 2 games off, but yes, I agree.
Yeah, I think I might have a better April than you will, but I think right now your football season has more of a shot than mine does. That's not saying much.
Yeah, that's the one difference is you have Trevor Lawrence probably coming to you, so in a couple months, come see me.
Yeah, we'll see in a couple months. But right now, obviously, let's talk about the Cowboys. And we know they're 2-7. We know that Dak Prescott's out for the year. But what else really has gone wrong for this team? Why they're so bad?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been the injuries, man. The offensive line. Everyone looks at the injury to Dak, and that obviously killed them. That really killed any chances that they were going to have at actually competing. But you look at the offensive line too. I mean, with these quarterbacks they've been putting out there, they've really given them no chance. They've had so much issues on the offensive line. Tyron Smith, Lyle Collins, obviously they lost Travis Frederick, even Zach Martin missed a couple of games. They're starting guys who I don't even know who they are on their offensive line right now. And you know as well as anyone. I mean, if you don't have a good offensive line, you're going to struggle in the NFL. So it's really been the injuries, and the defense has just been not consistent enough. The first 7 weeks of the season, this is a historically bad defense, one of the worst defenses really in NFL history. They've come around the last 2 weeks, obviously, but when you have Ben DiNucci and Garrett Gilbert starting at quarterback for you, it's a little bit tougher to win games, especially when trying to play someone like the Steelers 2 weeks ago. So it's been the injuries, obviously, and it's just been the defense. The injuries on defense obviously have played a factor as well. Hopefully the defense can kind of turn the corner here if you want them to make a playoff run or a run to the division at least. But yeah, it's really been the injuries in the defense outside of Prescott.
Yeah, it definitely is the case. And I feel like there's also a lot of anger going out there about Mike McCarthy, who has not been as well received as we thought he would be. So as somebody who's watched this team game in and game out, are you disappointed in the Mike McCarthy era so far?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think that, pandemic, if this was no pandemic season, I think we would really seriously be talking about him actually being on the hot seat, even with the Prescott injury, because before that injury, they were still 2-3, really 1-3, and then they win the game with Dalton at the end there against the Giants, 2-3. This is a team that had Super Bowl expectations. I know that the injuries have been crazy, but his coaching has just not been good. Some of the decisions that he's made, I have been screaming at the television. You can ask my father, screaming at the television for some of the coaching decisions that he's made down the stretch. Fake punts. I know that the play calls aren't totally on him, but the offensive game plan is certainly. This guy, we heard that he took a year away from football to study tape or whatever, and I'm starting to think that was all just a lie to get the job, and that he was kind of lying to Jerry Jones about all of that. And we've heard that he's already kind of lost the locker room as well a couple of weeks ago or about a month ago. Yeah, that whole thing just doesn't seem like he's been the right fit so far. Like I said, I think that the pandemic is going to kind of save him because he didn't really have a real off season, and obviously the injury to Prescott kind of gives him the year as well. But this time next year, if we're kind of looking at the same thing, I think he could be on the hot seat or on his way out because, frankly, it feels just like it did a year ago with Jason Garrett with this team.
The odd thing about that is obviously Jason Garrett, much as Cowboys fans hate him, Jerry Jones gave him almost a decade to get the job done. I find it hard to believe that all of a sudden 2 and done for Mike McCarthy after that because he gave him a boatload of money.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, but this guy, they brought him in to be, I don't want to say the savior, but to really turn things around. And I think we had a lot of hope going in that finally we had a real head coach. We just went through a decade of this, wondering if this guy was actually fit for the job in Jason Garrett. I wonder if they're going to do that again. Give this guy 5 years of leeway to say, hey, let's see if we can figure it out. Especially the guy like McCarthy, who we've seen he had his struggles in Green Bay the last couple of years there with the guy like Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So I'm curious about that. I mean, like I said, there's not going to be any changes this year. So, I mean, we'll probably still be having this conversation next year. But, yeah, he's been a disappointment so far, to say the least.
Yeah, he definitely has. But we are going to look ahead this week because thanks to their miserable division, they somehow are still only about a game and a half out of first place. They play the Vikings this week. The Vikings are red hot. They've won 3 in a row. What do you think the keys are for them to try to win this game? Because I think they have to or keep their hopes alive.
Yeah, frankly, I mean, it's a must-win game. But if you look at Cowboys fans really, I think they're kind of torn on if they even want to win this game or win this division. Honestly, do you want to win 5 or 6 games, win the division, and then get blown out in the first round of the playoffs against like the Seahawks, the Rams, or the Cardinals or someone? Or do you want to lose 13 games and try to get a top 5 pick? Frankly, I'd rather just lose at this point. But I also don't want to see the Giants or the Eagles win the division. So if they're going to win the division, they obviously have to win this game. Like you said, it all comes down to stopping the run. We know that the Vikings are going to run the ball, 25, 30 times with Dalvin Cook. What defense are we going to see from the Cowboys? Are we going to see the defense 2 weeks ago that really shut down the Steelers' rushing attack and really dominated that game up front? Or are we going to see the defense that, like I said, the first 7 weeks of the season was one of the worst in the NFL, especially against the run, where you look at a guy like Antonio Gibson running for 150 yards on them, Kenyon Drake one running for 150 yards on them. What kind of defense are we going to see? Are they going to be able to stop the run, or is Dalvin Cook going to put up a 200-yard game? And that's really the main thing. But if that did happen, I would not be the most upset fan in the world if they went out there and they lost this game and they finished season 3-13.
Yeah, it's also interesting to look at the number of his game. I don't think either of us took it this week, but the Vikings are 7.5-point favorites in that contest against the Cowboys. And, I mean, Dallas covered for the first time all year back in Week 9 against the Steelers, and then they were big underdogs there. So I'm not sure I think they're going to cover here. I do think I'm not a big fan of the Dalton era because he's not looked good even when he was healthy.
No, yeah, you could really make the argument that 2 weeks ago, Garrett Gilbert looked better than Andy Dalton did. And I know, obviously, Dalton only had that one start in Washington, or 2 starts actually in Arizona and then in Washington. But he looked terrible in both of those games. Obviously, he had no time to throw, like I mentioned, with that offensive line. But still, he didn't look that good. Garrett Gilbert against one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in football in Pittsburgh, he looked decent a couple of weeks ago. So you can make the argument that Gilbert would give them a better chance to actually win this game. But we'll see. Like I said, a loss wouldn't kill me this season.
Yeah, let's go to the picks. This is also why you're here. Last week, my buddy Dan DiMartini was here for talking about the Colts. He went 1-2 on the week. He had the Dolphins laying 2.5 against the I forget which team it was, but they weren't. Oh, it was against the Chargers. They won that game easily, so he won that one. He had the Seahawks +2. They got beaten up by the Rams. That did not work. Just let the Bears getting the points on Monday night. I don't think after that anybody will take the Bears again this year. So I went 2-1 last week. I had a pair of wins in the NFC South. I had the Bucks laying the 4.5 against the Panthers. They won easily. I had the Saints laying the 9.5 against the 49ers. That one was a little closer than I wanted because it was Drew Brees got hurt, but James Winston got the job done. My one loss, I had the Broncos getting the 5.5 against the Raiders, and they got themselves blown out of that game. And I'm really annoyed at the Broncos right now.
Well, then you won't like one of my picks coming up.
Yeah, so let's get to the picks challenge on the year. Team challenger is 16, 13, and 1. I'm 21-9 on the year. I've been on fire since the start.
Wow.
I've been seeing the league well this year. I have a good vantage point since my team stinks. I can keep better on everybody else.
Nice, yeah. 21-9. That's pretty freaking good, man.
Yeah, I've been red hot. We'll see if we can keep it going this week. But Troy, as the guest, you may go first. So where are you going with your first pick?
All right, my first pick, I'm going to take a team that you took last week. I'm going to take the Saints laying 4.5 against the Falcons. I just don't think the Falcons are very good. And I think that, even with Jameis Winston at quarterback, I think that they'll figure something out. They'll figure out a game plan to get him comfortable, to keep him from turning the ball over, hopefully. He still has Alvin Kamara in that backfield that he can check down to, and he can hand the ball off to if needed. I don't think the Falcons are very good. I think that, even with Jameis Winston at quarterback, the Saints are a touchdown better than Atlanta, especially at home. So give me the Saints laying 4.5 against the Falcons as my first pick.
Yeah, this one I wouldn't touch because I'm very concerned about what the Saints look like without Drew Brees. Because Winston himself is a turnover machine, and this is a team last year. The Falcons, a bad team, went into New Orleans, beat the Saints with Brees healthy. So this is one I'm going to stay away from, but I understand the logic of your pick.
Definitely.
Yeah. Where are you going, pick 2?
All right, pick 2, I'm going to take another favorite at home. I'm going to take the Browns -3 against the Eagles. Same thing. The Eagles last week, I was rooting for them against the Giants, actually. I did not want to see the Giants win that game. They laid an egg in that game, and I look at this Eagles schedule. I think that there's a real chance for them to just kind of fall apart. You look at some of the games that they have coming up. Carson Wentz has just been brutal this season. It's amazing that we ever had a debate about Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott. I'm a Cowboys fan. And I think that the Browns are a really good team. I think that getting Nick Chubb back, they have two guys that can really run the ball. You saw that they both ran for 100 yards, Chubb and Kareem Hunt, last week. I think that they'll control this game. I think that it's a weird line, only being favored by 3 at home against a bad Eagles team. So give me the Browns, -3 at home against the Eagles.
Yeah, I like this pick as well because I know the Browns are not great, but they are a very good bully team with them beat up bad teams. And they at home, they're going to be a very good shot here. They're going to run the ball, they can control the clock, their defense will play well. I think it's about a touchdown win for the Browns. I like that pick there. Where are you going with number 3?
Yeah, my third and final pick, I'm going to kind of take a shot here. I'm going to take the Broncos getting 3.5 at home against the Dolphins. I don't have a whole lot of logic with this one. I think that the Dolphins are a really good team. I think that they're a playoff caliber team. You look at their schedule coming up, they play the Jets and then they play the Bengals after this. I don't see them going 9-3, to be honest with you. I think they're going to trip up somewhere, and I don't think that they're going to trip up against the Jets, obviously. And I don't think they're going to trip up at home against the Bengals. Going on the road to Denver, obviously, in the altitude, no fans, but still, I don't know, young quarterback going on the road in a relatively tough environment. I'll take the Broncos, like you said. They were such a letdown last week. But this is kind of one of those like weird NFL games that comes out of nowhere where the Broncos either win outright or lose on like a last-second field goal or something like that. So if I'm getting 3.5 points at home, I'm going to take the Broncos here reluctantly, but I'm going to take the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm no fan of the Broncos. I don't think Drew Lock's a very good quarterback, but the hook here is nice. I will give you that. This could be a game, like you said, like where Denver just shows up, plays very well, and loses at the gun by a field goal. So the hook makes it a lot better, but it's one I would stay away from.
Yeah, absolutely. If it gets under that 3, I would probably not do it, but 3.5 I like.
All right, let's go to my picks now. Pick number 1. I'm going to take a revenge game here. Take the Chiefs laying 6.5 on Sunday Night Football against the Raiders in Vegas. And the Raiders did beat them once this year. They beat them at Arrowhead. They won 40-32 back in Week 5. This is a game also where they celebrate after the game. They took joyrides in the parking lot going around the stadium. Andy Reid and the Chiefs noticed they're pissed off. Patrick Mahomes playing at MVP level, 25 TDs, 1 pick. This is a big revenge game here. I'm laying less than a touchdown. I'll take the Chiefs here. Lay the 6.5 points. They're going to run away with this game. Pick 1.
I think so too. I think that they'll control this game, and I think, like you said, it's a revenge game for them. It's Patrick Mahomes in prime time. I like that pick a lot.
That's pick number 1. Pick number 2, I'm going to go back to the formula picking against the Jets. I'm going to take the Chargers laying the 8.5 points at home against them. And the Jets, I know they play well out prior to the bye. Joe Flacco started again. He had his best game, but the Chargers are a much better defensive team than the Patriots are. They have pass rush, which will get in Joe Flacco's face, make things difficult. And the Jets are a god-awful road team. They've lost all 4 of the road games here by an average of 22.2 points per game. I'm laying 8.5 with the Chargers. I think they will win by double digits. I give the Chargers pick 2.
Yeah, I was going to say, anytime that you can bet against the Jets, especially when they're on the road, I would do it. Only 8.5 points, like you said. I like that pick as well, taking the Chargers.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about it at first. I look at the numbers. I see they're losing by 22.2 on the road. I'm like, this is a no-brainer. This is a gimme. They're not going to win a road game all year.
Yeah, they haven't even been close in any of these road games.
They have not. Pick number 3, I'm going to take a dog here, an unconventional dog. I'm taking the Packers, getting 2.5 in Indy against the Colts. And this is one where I just can't resist having Aaron Rodgers an underdog in a game you can win outright, because I feel like this line shifted drastically after they played a leg against the Jaguars last week. This is a game where the Packers basically threw their helmets out on the field and said, okay, we can win this game. We don't need to try hard. They're going to learn their lesson. They're going to come out and play very well against the Colts, who I don't think, frankly, are very good. The special teams is a big reason why they won against Tennessee. They haven't really beaten anybody of note all season long besides the Titans. And I think this team is going to have trouble scoring points. And I think this is a game Green Bay comes out, makes a statement here, wins by double digits. Give me the Packers getting points on the road game week 3.
Yeah, you read my mind there. That was actually going to be one of my picks before I changed it. I think that the Packers are going to win this game outright, to be honest with you. And I don't think that the Colts are that good. I think that they're a good team. They're probably a playoff team. But like you said, they won that game mostly with their special teams last week against the Titans. I don't think the Titans are that good either when you look at what they've done the last couple of weeks. So anytime you can get Aaron Rodgers as an underdog in a game that he could win outright, like you mentioned, I would take it. I was going to take that one as well, so I really like it.
Yeah, so to reset the picks for the week, Troy has gone with the Saints laying 4.5 against the Falcons with Jameis Winston at quarterback. The Browns laying 3 at home against the Eagles. The Broncos 3.5-point home dogs against the Dolphins. My picks of the week, the Chiefs laying 6.5 against the Raiders in Vegas on Sunday night. The Chargers laying 8.5 against the Jets at home. and the Packers actually getting 2.5 in Indianapolis against the Colts. Those are your picks for week number 11 of the podcast. And speaking of the Packers, next week, our Thanksgiving week picks, Joe D'Alizio will be on the line. We're going to be talking Green Bay Packer football. They got a fun game next Sunday night against the Bears.
Oh yes, that's right. That is a big game for the Bears as well. They gotta figure something out for the Chicago Bears. After starting 5-1 now, 5-5.
Yeah,
they gotta figure something out.
Yeah, I think the Bears might switch quarterbacks. I think they might go back to Trubisky after the bye.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, what was Trubisky? I think he was 3-1 or something as a starter.
Yeah.
He wasn't terrible. They were winning games at least.
They're winning games, but he's not the long-term answer. I think they have to try something to save their season.
Absolutely, yeah. Neither one of those guys is going to be the answer. They got to draft a quarterback or figure something else out.
Yeah, absolutely. Troy, thanks for all the time. I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, how can people find on social media and keep up with some of the stuff you're up to?
Absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter at Troy Mauriello. That's TroyMauriello. I got my St. John's podcast that I always like to talk about on here. I know you've had me on to talk about the Red Storm a couple of times. We're doing a new episode. We got a new season coming up starting next week, obviously college basketball. So very excited about that. You can check that out on my Twitter. And I always appreciate you having me on, Mike. It's always a pleasure.
No problem. I got to say, it's going to be fun talking college basketball this season. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens because this is going to be a very unconventional year.
Oh, it's going to be so weird. There's going to be a lot, like college football, there's going to be a lot of games canceled and a lot of reshuffling, a lot of weird things going on. But like you said, just to be able to talk about college basketball and watch college basketball for the first time in really 8+ months, it's going to be really, really fun. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, give me the quick tease here. What's the Red Storm look like this year?
I think they got a shot to be a tournament team, to be honest with you. I don't know if they definitely won't be a top 25 team or anything like that. They'll probably be lower half of the Big East, but they got a lot of guys that can score the basketball. They're not reliant on one guy or even two guys. They're very, very deep. You need to be deep in the Big East. Obviously, the Big East is going to send 6 or 7 teams to the tournament again. I think that they have a shot to be that 6 or that 7 team from the conference that gets into the tournament, and then we'll see what happens. But definitely confident about this team going into the season.
Yeah, I think two things, in my opinion, work against them a bit. I think they might be 1 year away. In my opinion, number one, I think losing LJ Figueroa to Oregon was a big blow because he would have been a huge factor on this team this year. And also, I think UConn coming back in the league, and they had 2 tougher games onto the St. John schedule.
Oh, yeah, and their Big East opener on December 11th is against UConn. So I'm happy to have UConn back, but obviously, like you said, it makes the conference just that much tougher now, especially at the top half with the way that Hurley's been recruiting there. Having UConn back, it's welcome, but it also makes things a lot more difficult.
All right, Troy, thanks again. Up next, we're going to go to the 2-minute drill. We'll talk about what the chances are of actually winning the NFC East right after this.